When David wrote Psalm 22, crucifixion hadn't even been invented yet, hadn't even been thought of. It would have been considered inhumane in the ancient Middle East. And yet the Roman government decides this is one way, when you've conquered a country, to subjugate these people and keep them under authority, crucify as many as you have to, terrorize the population into submission.
The actual term crucifixion is not used in the Old Testament. However, there are several ancient references that clearly indicate it was the means of capital punishment by which the Messiah would die. As a result, the fulfillment of Messianic prophecy hinged upon a specific historical chronology.
The Messiah has to come during the period of the Roman Empire. It's only in that narrow window of time when the Roman Empire rules the world that crucifixion is the means of execution, and Jesus comes at the right time, dies the right way in fulfillment of those prophecies. David literally looks down through the halls of history, down through the corridor of time, and 1,000 years in the distance sees the Savior suffering and dying and describes it for us in Psalm 22.
Biblical scholars have long studied the correlation between the writings of David, Zechariah, and Isaiah, and the gospel accounts of Christ's death. When these Old and New Testament scriptures are compared side by side, the prophetic implications of the passion of Christ are fully realized.
A band of evil men has encircled me. They have pierced my hands and my feet.
And they nailed Jesus to a cross.
To intensify the pain of crucifixion, Roman soldiers attached victims to the cross by driving spikes 5 to 7 inches long through the hands or wrists and feet. Like David, the prophet Zechariah foretold the wounds created by this torture centuries before the nails ever pierced Christ's body.
They will look on me, the one they have pierced, and mourn for him as one who mourns for an only child.
At 9 o'clock on Friday morning, the cross was raised at Golgotha. Pilate had a notice attached above Christ's head proclaiming the charge against him in 3 languages. Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. During the next 6 hours, at least 12 specific prophecies were fulfilled.
He poured out his life unto death, and was numbered with the transgressors.
They crucified 2 thieves with him, one on his right and one on his left.
All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord. Let the Lord rescue him.
Those who passed by hurled insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, "He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him."
They divide my garments among them, and cast lots for my clothing.
When they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots.
That was, again, typical of Romans. You strip the guy's clothes off and put him on the cross, and so any of the clothing that was yet considered of any value at all, they would gamble for. So here are the soldiers gambling at the foot of the cross to see who gets the robe of Jesus, and that's predicted in Psalm 22, 1,000 years before the time of Christ, that they have encircled me, that they're taunting me, and in all of that, all of the prophecies of Psalm 22 and Isaiah 53 are fulfilled in minute detail in the death of Jesus Christ.
At noon, the 6th hour by Jewish reckoning, the divine judgment of God echoed over Jerusalem through the forces of the natural world.
In that day, declares the Lord, I will make the sun go down at noon and darken the earth in broad daylight.
From the 6th hour until the 9th hour, darkness came over all the land.
As the skies darkened and the temperature dropped, Jesus, nearly dead from loss of blood, summoned his last reserve of strength to call out to God, as Messianic prophecy again came to fruition.
My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me?
About the 9th hour, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?"
Back in those days, these psalms were not numbered, and so the way in which you referred to them was to recite the first line. Well, what is Psalm 22? It's a messianic psalm. It has predictions about the coming of the Messiah, and he was, in effect, there on the cross, applying that to himself, saying, Psalm 22 is coming true in me today.